Now that we know what elements come together to create writer's effect, let's talk about how you can talk about writer's effect. The overall idea is to be able to explain the writer's intention in using specific words and phrases and what purpose or effect they were trying to create. Sometimes it can get a bit challenging tying down an abstract feeling to seemingly more physical imagery. But there are certain steps that we can take which will make the process a whole lot easier. Welcome to the 3-step Writer's Effect program. Step 1. Identify. You have got to know what you're talking about before you can actually talk about it. Identifying the right word or phrase can make all the difference. Avoid picking a long phrase. We don't want sentences. Maximum 3 words or so. And even then, it's preferable if you pick a single word because they tend to be more effective. You want to pick something that has a lot of imagery that really triggers a sense or two when you read it. So look out for strong adjectives, action words, anything that can help you better visualize the scene. You don't necessarily want to pick the fanciest word you see, especially when you're unsure as to what it means exactly. Step 2. Describe. Now that you have your word, it's time to set the scene. Begin by describing in just a couple sentences or so what is actually happening. Since the word or phrase you may have chosen may be more figurative, you will have to lay out exactly what is being described. This is where knowing about physical imagery will come in handy. After this comes the real deal. Step 3. Explain. This is the meat of your answer where everything comes together. Primarily, you have to explain what the connotation of that word is, what emotions are created, and what mood it creates for the reader. You put together the entire scene that has been building up to this point and combine the elements, laying out exactly what the reader is feeling, visualizing, and experiencing. I know it gets confusing sometimes, so let me illuminate with an example. I'll use a sentence from George Orwell's 1984, specifically this one. Outside, even through the shut window pane, the world looked cold. Now, immediately, I can identify the describing word, which is cold. The world looked cold. Step 1 done. On to step 2. So what does that even mean? How can something look cold? Well, it's not so much about the visual imagery here, it's more about what the word cold represents. It reminds me of the poles, the North Pole, South Pole, freezing temperatures, almost no life. I see no color, just shades of gray, devoid of all feeling and empathy. So how can we put all these nice words in such a way that they really pierce through the examiner's heart, figuratively speaking? This is how I would do it. By reading the word cold, the reader is able to visualize a harsh, cruel, uncaring environment devoid of all life and love, leaving it without warmth. Time for step 3. Explaining the effects of all this imagery. I may continue my answer as, the effect created is almost of hopelessness. It may make the reader feel afraid or isolated, as it may seem that there is no support or the warmth of comfort nearby. Following this format will make it really easy for your reader to follow your trail of thought. I would highly recommend picking your words according to the guidelines I gave in step 1. There is a danger that you may end up picking a word that is so abstract that you will be left scratching your head thinking about how to even start your answer. Also, fun fact, the identify, describe, explain framework is a bare bones version of what you put in most essay body paragraphs. So you can use it with slight modifications for a whole bunch of different things. I hope this video had the right effect, and I will see you all next time.